Hi guys, today we are going to talk about very important session for all of you. We will look at various government schemes, specifically funding schemes for startups at different stages. So what are those different government schemes that you can avail uh, when you're at idea stage or product stage or a growth stage? I will share all those details with all of you. And I think this is a very important session for all of you to understand that how can you get funding for your startup idea. Let's begin. So typically, I'll talk about three major schemes that is available for most of the cases. There are other schemes apart from these three, but these are major schemes, particularly when you are in Gujarat and you belong to a University of Gujarat, I mean in territory of Gujarat. So first is SSIP, second is scheme for assistance for startups and innovation under Gujarat Industrial Policy, and third is Startup India Seed Fund scheme. So we will see these are all schemes which are sector agnostic. There are again sector specific scheme on BioRec and biotechnology side, and then you have schemes on IT electronics segment, and then you have schemes for healthcare segment and all. But these are in general the best scheme, sector agnostic for for people to avail benefits out of it, right? So let me begin with the first scheme, which is Student Startup Innovation Policy 2.0 SSIP. This policy is in second version of its operation. It was started in 2017. And the second version is launched in 2022, and it is going to be there till 2027. Now I will give a brief about what this policy is. The governing body of this policy is Education Department, Government of Gujarat. So this is state government's policy. Funding, you can easily get funding up to 2.5 lakh rupees for your startup idea. Who can be applicant? Anyone who lives in Gujarat and have a startup idea, but the age is below 35. So this is the criteria that they have kept. Anyone below the age of 35, be it a student of school, university student, dropout, school dropout or a university dropout, anyone who is below 35 willing to start a startup can apply to avail this funding on startup idea. What is the application process? Now, SSIP Education Department has implemented this policy, and they have defined more than 150 grantee institutions across the state, Parle University being one of those grantee. So you have to apply at this grantee. So for example, you can apply at the grantee institution in a separated format. Then grantee institution will evaluate the applications in phase-wise manner, and if the committee feels at the grantee that the project is worth funding, they'll give you funding up to 2.5 lakh rupees. How can you utilize the fund? For what purpose? You have to specifically utilize this fund for development of POC, proof of concept, or a prototype. So this cannot be used for providing salary to the people or manpower or any other services. You just need to utilize these funds for development of your proof of concept, right? Funding type. This funding is a grant. So let's say you got this 2 lakh rupees of funding. It is a grant. It is non-refundable, which means that let's say in worst case scenario, if nothing comes out of your POC and you could not proceed further, and then you drop your startup and you wind up your startup, you need not to pay back that money to the government, right? But it does not mean that you get the funding as it is. Like, the process is little stringent, and people looks for commitment from the founders and the passion from the founders. So normally, although even if it fails, it is not refundable, but the idea should not be that. Idea should be you take the funds and try to build startup out of it. Then in the same policy, if you want funding beyond 2.5 lakh, it is still available up to 10 lakh rupees. And the applicant here could be anyone, again, under the age of 35 years. What is the process? Here, Government of Gujarat has not given this right to any of the grantee, but Government of Gujarat has started a new program called Startup Srujan under the umbrella of iHub, which is Student Startup Innovation Hub, the incubation center of Government of Gujarat. This is located in Ahmedabad. So iHub can invite the application. People need to apply to the online through a portal of iHub for this particular funding beyond 2.5 lakh rupees. And again, where can you utilize this fund? These funds can be utilized specifically for development of MVP, which is minimum viable product. That is first product for a customer, and the final product in case of startup. So this can be used for that. Again, this fund cannot be used for salaries and all, the manpower and all. Funding type, this is a grant, again non-refundable. In this policy, there is a lot of IPR support as well. If you are filing for intellectual property rights, you can still utilize funding for that. You can easily get funding for filing patents up to 75,000 rupees for domestic patents and up to 1.5 lakh rupees for the international patents. You can get 8,000 rupees funding up to for filing copyrights, 12,500 for filing trademarks, and 9,000 for filing industrial designs. So this is the first policy that we are talking about. Now let us look at the another policy of state government, which is under Gujarat Industrial Policy, scheme for assistance of startups and innovation. And this is again operated by Industry Department of Government of Gujarat. So here the funding is raised. The funding is up to 30 lakh rupees, and the fund can be utilized for raw materials, consumables, hardware, softwares. Professional services is still okay. Other equipments, tools, prototype development, product development, and process development. So this component can be, the funds can be used in these components. But again, there is no component of salaries and all, right? You can use it for market research. You can use it for testing and trials. You can use it for marketing purpose as well. Then another advantage of this scheme is they also offer sustenance allowances, 20,000 rupees per startup per month. If there are all male founders, and if there is a female founder, they will give you 25,000 rupees per month for a period of 1 year. And the allowances aim to support startup during seed stage, where startup does not generate any revenue as such, to meet their regular expenses, right? So to support founders for their livelihood expenditure, they give this funding. I mean, you can use this amount of money for your livelihood expenditure, right? Then they also offer reimbursement of skill development assistance up to 1 lakh rupees per startup. You can participate in skill development training specific to soft skill, managerial skills, marketing skills, financial skills, whatever you feel is required for your startup. You can go for that, and then you can reimburse that money from this policy. You can also get assistance to innovative projects up to 10 lakh rupees having significance. This is over and above that 30 lakh rupees. So this extra 10 lakh rupees you can avail for having significant societal startups, basically social impact startups. Now, who is governing body? Governing body is Industry Commissionerate, Government of Gujarat. It is under Industry Department. Eligibility is very clear. Now here in this policy, if you want to avail benefit, you cannot avail as an individual. In earlier case, it was an individual at an idea stage, you can avail the benefit in SSIP, but here you need to have your company registered. So an entity registered as partnership firm or LLP or private limited company in Gujarat. So your company should be based in Gujarat. The headquarters should be in Gujarat and fulfills the following criteria. And this criteria, again, the same criteria which is defined by Startup India. The company should have not crossed 10 years of incorporation, should have not crossed 100 crore of revenue in any year, and should be working towards innovation, development, and have the scope of employment and wealth creation, right? So these are the criteria for this startup to apply for this scheme. What is the process? The application process is very clear. The Government of Gujarat Industry Department has nominated several institutions called Nodal Institution NI. Through NI, you can apply for this scheme. Pearl University, PIERC, the incubator of Pearl University, is also one of those NI. So we also accept the applications. Applications to be made to nodal institutions either online or offline mode, and then the application is scrutinized at the nodal institution in first place. The selected application at the nodal institution will then send to the state level, and in state level there is 2 rounds of scrutiny, and then the committee decides whom to be given grant and all. Again, funding type, this is again grant, it is not refundable. But I would say normally the competition in this second policy is little higher in comparison to the first case. So SSIP is always a go-to option for any startup at a very early stage. Then last scheme we'll talk about is Startup India Seed Fund Scheme. This is operated by DPIIT, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. The funding you can have under this scheme is up to 70 lakh. 20 lakh in terms of grant, which is non-refundable, 50 lakhs in terms of debt, and the debt meaning you can take loan, you can take CCD, you can take OCD. There are several instruments for that, but the 50 lakh is you need to give something from your startup to the incubator, right? And 20 lakh is just a grant. You need not to repay that particular grant to the government. Now, who can be the applicant? A startup recognized by DPIIT, incorporated not more than 2 years ago at the time of application. So if you have a recognized startup by DPIIT and your company incorporation is not more than 2 years time, then you can avail this particular benefit. What is the process? Application can be made online via Startup India portal. Again, Startup India seed fund scheme, the DPIIT has defined the nodal centers, the incubators who can who can look after the application process and scrutinize the process and provide the funding to the startups. Again, our incubator is one of the incubator under this scheme, and we have been allotted funding maximum to up to 3 crore rupees to support our startups. So we get, so startup need to apply online through the portal of Startup India, and they need to select the incubator in that selection list, and the incubator who are allotted for selection will evaluate the application and then allot the funding. And for what was fund to be utilized? For development of POC, prototype, product, testing, trials, MVP, all those things. Beyond these three schemes, particularly for state government, I would suggest we have another body called GVFL now, Gujarat Ventures Finance Limited, who funds the startup up to a ticket size of 10 crore, from 50 lakhs to 10 crore, and this is somewhere for mid-level pre-series A funding. And now in this funding they take equity on that. So this is again government of Gujarat's body, but this is an investment that they provide. So beyond these three schemes, if somebody is looking for funding beyond 50 lakh, they can still avail through GVFL, but this will be on equity sharing basis. So that's it. I hope you got a fair idea about what kind of different government schemes are there, particularly when you're in Gujarat, to build your startups, and then how can you avail the benefits out of it. Thank you so much.